Good evening, my dear YouTube viewers. Today also we will continue the questionnaire technique. Usually the heading or little of research is itself self-explanation, such as the breakdown of the joint family in urban areas, but if some further explanation is necessary, it must be given also. The respondent should be maintained and made to realize the validity and utility of the research project. Sometimes monetary incentives is also given, but as a rule, it is not entertained. Finally, the incentives acts as motivating factors for respondents to share his knowledge with research worker. The precaution is necessary where information about private life or income is required. Second, instructions for filling up the questionnaire. The respondent must not have to pay for written postage. It should either be prepaid or stamps for the required amount should be enclosed. Form of questionnaire. The questionnaire must not have more than number of questions. Why? Because that can be answered in within 10 or 20 minutes only. No one can expected to fill the questionnaire of 100 queries, that is the 100 questions. The get-up of questionnaire. The get-up of questionnaire should be very attractive. It will be prepared based on the experience only. Lacking of these qualities, the questionnaire will be consigned to WPB, that is they will throw it to the dustbin, waste paper basket. Clarity questions. There should be no ambiguity and no dubiousness about them. The best method is to ensure that our questionnaire do not have any misleading or confusing questions. Next, serial order of the questions. The questions should be broken which are mutually interrelated. The second way depend upon the first, but the first should not depend upon the second. Otherwise, the order of questions will be ceased to be systematic and will become chaotic. 7. Attractiveness. The attractiveness of the questionnaire is determined and also its form and the style of the questionnaire. Next, preliminary test of questionnaire. It has the following points. Number 1, the questionnaire to be tested and should be complete within almost all aspects. If the results are preliminary test, some drastic changes are made in the questionnaire. The revised questionnaire must be retested. Some questions should not send for housewives or homemakers in case if the problem nature is related to the prostitution or other vices, that is the bad habits. If the questionnaire on preliminary test shows the following responses, it should be considered as a defective. In case if it will be like this: if it is unwritten, if the majority of the questions remained unanswered, if different persons are giving varying answers to the same questions, if the questions are mutually contradictory. Once again, we will recap the information. Usually, the heading or little of research is self-explanation only, such as the breakdown of joint families in urban areas. If you want some more further explanation, if it is necessary, it must be given also. The respondent should be maintained and made to realize the validity and utility of the research project. Sometimes monetary incentives is also given, but as a rule, it is not entertained. Finally, the incentives acts as motivating factor for the respondent to share his knowledge with research worker. The precaution is necessary where information about private life or income is required. Next, instructions for filling up the questionnaire. The respondent must not have to pay for written postage. It should either be prepaid or stamped. For the required amount, there should be enclosed. Third, form of questionnaire. The questionnaire must not have more than number of questions. Why? Because the question that can be answered within a 10 to 15 minutes. Based on that, one should prepare the questionnaire. No one can expect to fill the questionnaire of 100 queries, that is almost all 100 questions. The get-up of questionnaire. The get-up of questionnaire should be attractive. Who will prepare? Only experienced scholars or the professors, they can prepare like that. Lacking these qualities, the questionnaire will be consigned to WPB. WPB stands for waste paper basket. That is thrown to the dustbin. Then clarity questions. There should be no ambiguity and no dubiousness about them. The best method is to ensure that our questionnaire do not have any misleading or confusing questions. Next, serial order of questions. The questions should be broken which are mutually interrelated. Example, if the second may depend on the first. If the second question depend on the first, but the first should not depend upon the second question. Otherwise, the order of questions will cease to be systematic and will become the chaotic. Unsystematic and it will become the chaotic. Attractiveness. The attractiveness of the questionnaire is determined and also its form and style of the questionnaire. Next, preliminary test of questionnaire. It has the following points. The questionnaire has to be tested and it should be complete with almost all needed questions in various aspects. If the results of preliminary test had undergone drastic changes, once again we should prepare the questionnaire. Then they revised the questionnaire. For this they will go and retest them. Some questionnaire should not sent for the housewives or the homemakers. Why? Because if the problem is related to the prostitutional activity or other vices are nothing but the bad habits. If the if the questionnaire on preliminary test shows the following responses, it should be considered. Sometimes good, sometimes it may be the defective. If it is defective, how it will be? If it is unreturned. If the majority of the questions remain unanswered. If the different persons are giving varying answer, different answers for the same question. If the questions are mutually contradictory. So, based on that answers, we can understand the question may be defective or the way of understanding by the respondent may be defective, wrong understanding. So, by this, today's lecture is completed. This is Bindu taking leave from the YouTube platform. Please do subscribe. Many times I am reminding, but I didn't find any subscription. Please go ahead and cooperate with us. By this, it may be the motivation factors for me to keep on the upgrade the some more activities. That is the research activity or some other subject related information. Good day and good night.